Good morning, my people. Just want to say I have a cough. It will not go away. So if I'm coughing on and off throughout this video, please forgive me. And no, it's not COVID. It's sinus drainage, and it will not go away. So just to review, last Friday, you guys looked at 9.3, and in 9.3, we had transportation and changes in the cities. Some of the transportation that we looked at and learned about were streetcars and trains. We also looked at how industries grew and brought changes to the cities. We saw that as they grew, more workers were needed, and when cities became larger and more crowded, some of the families moved to the suburbs, the areas outside of the cities. And remember that this time period that's taken place, the timeline is from 1865 to 1900. All right. Alabama history, chapter 9.4. Changes in education, religion, and culture. As you're reading, look for why the school term was so short. They only went to school for 4 months. And how culture and lifestyle changed and the center of social life. Section 4, your EQ, your essential question that you need to be able to answer by the time that we finish. How did the time after Reconstruction change the lives of Alabamians? Introduction. The time after the Civil War brought many changes. People saw changes in their education, religion, and social lives. People had to change in order to live and do well economically. I'm sure, just in my thinking, I'm sure that this was a pretty scary time for them, because change can be scary sometimes. You know, if you think about it, change, this is something you're not used to doing, and so you think, oh my goodness. And so usually when we have change, things wind up working out well. But anyway, I'm sure it was still a scary time. Education starts over in Alabama. At first, most schools had one room and one teacher. And so here it's a picture of one of the one-room schoolhouses and the teacher. And then I found this for you. It looks like it would be, it was in 1901, and it's what I would call PE. Schools were in session only 4 months each year because children needed to work on farms. By 1890, the schools were better and the school year longer. One-room schoolhouse. Older students in these schools helped younger students learn. Teachers taught math, reading, writing, spelling, and geography. Teachers cleaned and filled the oil lamps, brought in firewood or coal to warm the school. A water bucket was filled for students' thirst. And here's a picture of what the lamps look like. And a lot of you, your parents, grandparents, I know I do, still have lamps like this today. We still use them, especially when the power goes out. Teachers followed strict rules. Some were allowed to date once a week. This is hilarious. That they had a say over a teacher's personal life. So some were able to date once a week, and if women teachers married, they lost their job. That means they were fired. Students were not allowed to talk without permission. They were punished for their misbehavior. And I found this, and this cracked me up, y'all. I found some rules from 1872 for teachers, and then some rules for 1901. Men teachers, you could take one evening each week for courting. That meant dating, or 2 evenings a week if you went to church regularly. After 10 hours in school, the teachers may spend the remaining time reading your Bible or other good books. I think that's a good rule. When women teachers who marry or engage in unseemly conduct will be dismissed. That means you will be fired. Every teacher should lay aside from each pay a goodly sum of earnings for his benefit during his declining years, so that he will not become a burden to society. That just means he needs to put aside money for retirement. Any teacher who smokes, uses liquor in any form, frequent pool or public halls, or gets shaved in a barber shop will give good reason to suspect his worth, intention, integrity, and honesty. Shaved in a barber shop? Swimming in a pool? Oh my. The teacher who performs his labor faithfully and without fault for 5 years will be given an increase of 25 cents per week in his pay. You may ride in a buggy with the man if the man is your father or brother. All right, and then you can pause it here and take a look. This is from 1901, just teacher rules. Rules for students in 1872. Respect your schoolmaster. That was your teacher. Obey him and accept his punishments. Do not call your classmate names or fight with them. Love and help each other. Never make noises or disturb your neighbors as they work. Be silent during classes. Do not talk unless it's absolutely necessary. Don't leave your seat without permission. No more than one student at a time may go to the washroom. At the end of class, wash your hands and your face. Wash your feet if they are bare. Bring forward into the classroom for the stove whenever the teacher tells you to do this chore. Go quietly in and out of the classroom. If the master calls your name after class, straighten the benches and tables, sweep the room, dust, and leave everything tidy. This is a picture of someone getting a good old-fashioned spanking, a whooping. And then sometimes they would have to go to the front of the class and write sentences on the chalkboard. Private schools and colleges. Some private schools were started sometimes by churches. Normal schools were started to increase the number of teachers. In 1872, that Normal State School in Florence was the first school to educate teachers. It is now the University of North Alabama. Jacksonville Normal School was formed from other schools and is today Jacksonville State University. Opportunities expanded for women to get an education. Schools were separate for black and white people. And then I found this online for you. This is a picture of the State Formal School in Florence, Alabama, which is way up in North Alabama. And this is what it looks like today. It is now called the University of North Alabama. Religion and culture. With the war over, people had more time for social activities. They had more time for church activities and for helping people. Worshippers worked together. Churches began to rebuild after the war. Black members often wanted their own churches after the war, and the members worked together to build their new churches. The African Methodist, Episcopal, AME, and the AME Zion groups were important in the black community. Social life. Social life was limited during the war. Many recalled a hard time of working in fields, factories, and trying to stay alive. Churches were a center of social life with dinner on the grounds after church. A lot of churches still do this, and I think that's so much fun. It's so cool that they still do that. I remember when I was growing up, and we still have, it's called Declaration. It's kind of like a homecoming where people will still come to church, and we used to have big old picnic tables. There were cement picnic tables, and everybody would eat under the picnic tables. That was so much fun. I loved it. Weddings, revivals, and Christmas parties were social events. Reading books and writing them became more common. And then next, we're going to look at politics and civil rights.